Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight to hear Peter Pereira's talk on his work that is on display not only at the New Bedford Whaling Museum, but also at the Standard Times down the street. What is the address there? Elm Street, 25 Elm Street. So to explain a little bit about the conception of the exhibitions, which I hope that Beth is here. Is Beth here?
She's kind of busy because of a deadline.
Oh, okay. Well, she's trying to run a newspaper, so she's a little busy. But Peter Pereira has he's an icon of New Bedford. And we are an incredibly fortunate city to have a photographer who represents our stories and international stories the way that only Peter can capture them. He's a incredibly talented. Oh my, look at, he even gets coffee delivered. I'm sorry, Jess, where's my coffee? Whoa, that's. I've actually never seen that happen at the Whaling Museum, that someone gets personally delivered a cappuccino to the theater. That's really awesome. So that's just, he's like the king of New Bedford. Awesome. Anyway, so Peter has been at the Standard Times since 2000, is that correct? And it's very unusual for a city of our modest size to have a photographer of Peter's caliber. He's won awards all over the world. He has been in Time, Newsweek, US News, World Report, Vogue, Australia, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Washington Post, USA Today, Chicago Tribune, sorry, Wall Street Journal, for which he won some awards, Courier International, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Read the panel in the exhibit outside this space, and you'll read all of his credentials. But he's truly one of the most talented photographers I've ever known. His work is incredibly personal. It's incredibly dynamic. He'll tell you some fabulous stories about his connections to the city. But he also has a fabulous show up the street at the Standard Times that looks at his international work. So in our gallery here, in the Jacobs Family Gallery, you will see works that are regionally based. But at the international space in the Standard Times, he's really done some amazing things. So there you'll see his work on India and Haiti and the Azores that just will blow your mind. So he's a passionate man. He's a fantastic representative of New Bedford. And we're hoping that this show that we've done here in partnership with the Standard Times and with Reynolds DeWalt, who have actually printed all of these pieces on their dime, which is incredibly generous of them. They've done a beautiful job to travel possibly to Portugal next year or the year after. So we're looking for funding for that to support Peter's project. So any supporters, just, you know. But anyways, I want to introduce Peter Pereira. He's a fabulous man and actually one of the most pleasant artists who are still alive that I've worked with. So, sorry. Living artists can be difficult, and Peter is the most gracious, passionate person. And anyways, I'll pass it over to Peter because I'm going to gush too much with your little cappuccino.
Thank you. All right, first and foremost, thank you all for being here. Can you guys all hear me good? All right. It's Japanese custom to like bow in appreciation. So I will do that for you. I want to thank many people before I talk about a single thing, including the photo that you no longer see. First and foremost, I want to thank the Whaling Museum. I want to thank Christina, who was the curator for the show, who was just awesome. It's not every day that I say, here's the photos, do what you want. And that's exactly what I did. Imagine that. Every single day I try to control every aspect of my life. And I did what I've never done before. I said, here you go, have a nice day. And you know something? I never had any doubts that Christine was going to just absolutely do the subject matter justice, do the people that I have thrown everything I have to document, put them out there in a format that was conducive to letting you experience it in a different realm, not in a printed newspaper. but to see it for what it is. It's much, much more than recycled goods. I never think of a photograph as a recycled good, even though that's exactly what you guys all do with it. Ready? Open the door. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Pick it up. Gee, this guy overrolled this thing. Elastic. Open it up. Oh my word, what am I going to do with this thing? Oh, gee, look at this ad running right across. What is this? Okay, don't care about that. Oh, that's a really cool photo. Yeah, but I don't like yoga. Okay, let's go. Flip it over. Gee, this thing is so small now. Hey, Johnny, you want to look at sports? Yeah, leave it on the desk. Oh, cool. They're not even talking about the Red Sox anymore. Jeez. Guys, right after that, it's in the recycling bin. So in essence, every morning, I have literally seconds to impress you with something. And what the Whaling Museum has done is put it out there so that you can absorb what it is that I'm trying to tell you. The stories that I've given everything I am for, sit there for 2 months, and you can look at them, and you can be absorbed by that. So thank you so much for what you've done. I think she deserves a round of applause. Now, I also want to thank the Standard Times. Now, there have been 3 editors that I've worked for. Ken Hartnett was the one that hired me, and I'll forgive him for giving me less money than he promised me on the initial meeting. We're over that. But you know something? He believed in me. I'm a computer engineer. Why would he hire me? Why? Because he saw something. He saw something. Okay, granted, I proved it. Every single day I would photograph things. But he still did hire me, right? Then we have Bob Unger right there. Mr. Unger, thank you so much. And Bob, I still call him Mr. Unger. It doesn't sound right calling him Bob. Now, Mr. Unger gave me the freedom. It's hard. It's hard when you have a limited staff to believe in a single guy that's going to go out and get it done, whatever that means. And Mr. Unger gave me that. He gave me the freedom to explore. And if you can't explore, if you can't head out into the community with a blank canvas, you can never be as good as you possibly can. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now we have Beth Purdue, I don't know if she's here, who's also given it even more freedom to do things. Granted, there's only 2 staff photographers. I start at 7 in the morning, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, and I get out about 3, 4 o'clock. And you know something? I have yet to have Beth ask me, what are you going to do today? Nope. I get in, I process my photos, I write something on the budget, and that's the first time Beth knows what it is that I photograph. For the most part, I do get assignments. So thank you so much to Beth. I think she deserves a round of applause as well. Now, some of you guys who are Facebook friends of mine also know that I have a cycling team. I've been racing bicycles for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, I had no idea what I was going to say tonight. None. Until I went out for a little training ride, a 20-mile ride, just a little while ago, so I can clear my head and come to grips with what it is that I'm going to address tonight. Now, last year I decided I'm going to create a cycling team. And I want to thank these people as well. Because you know why? Because they gave me the money because they believed in me. It didn't matter that most of the cyclists on this team are from Connecticut and Rhode Island. They gave it to me because they like me, and I really appreciate that. So even though I got big corporate sponsors like Jaguar and Land Rover, that's not what I really wanted on my jersey. Yeah, they're big on the jersey and on the shorts, but on the front of the jersey is the New Bedford Whaling Museum, right over my heart. Everywhere I go, it's right there. That whale's tail, everybody knows where I'm from. I didn't want anyone to forget. On the center of the jersey is Tia Maria's Cafe. Thank you. And on the sleeves is a Buzzards Bay Coalition. All organizations, yes, and I include Tia Maria's in that conversation, that are the foundation of our community. They are what's driving downtown. Now, you know that Mr. Unger has Moby Dick Brewery, which I ate there this for lunch. I think he deserves a lot of... And I know you guys want to talk about photos, but I just want to slow you down for a second, right? Our city is an amazing place. When I started in 2000, downtown was a ghost town. It's true. And then No Problemo opened. Think about that for a second, right? So while all these people are trying to figure out ways on how to get out of this town, these two young guys said, you know something? I got a great idea. Think about this. Think about how crazy this idea is. We're going to open up a Mexican taqueria thing. Oh, and we're not going to accept credit cards, cash only. What? And you know something? That was the cornerstone for the New Bedford that we have today. So wherever they may be, I think they really, really deserve a round of applause. Think about it. Think about it. Where else would you want to go to lunch today? Downtown New Bedford. You can go to Moby Dick's. You can go to Greasy Luck. You can go to Tia Maria's. You can go to the Whaling City Diner, which is awesome. You want a coffee? There's no better place to go have coffee. How can you beat sitting at a table outside on the sidewalk at Tia Maria's? Having, by the way, I need to correct you, this is not a cappuccino, my friends. No, no. This is Portuguese called meia de leite. That translates to half milk. See, us Portuguese people, we like little things. We don't like ginormous things. And this could be the greatest drink ever created by mankind. So that they showed up with this is just stellar. So I know why you guys are here today. You guys want to hear about photography. You guys want to hear about what it is that drives me. But did anybody ever bother asking, what on earth is photography? What is it? Really? I mean, honestly, what is it? It's the thing that we take the most for granted. Vision, light. Think about it. Photography is a compound word of two Greek words, photos and graphe. What does it mean? It means drawing by light. Think about it. We all know what drawing is, but what is light? What is light? Anybody here ever sat down and thought about what is light? Where does it come from? Okay, granted, we're inside a closed environment. So we got tungsten lights, we got LEDs, which by the way stands for light emitting diode. That's my engineer speaking to you. But I want you, when you go out tomorrow or later, I want you to have a new appreciation for light. What is light? Let me tell you what light is. Light begins in our closest star, the sun. Sol, right? Hydrogen ball compressing itself as hard as possible. And in the center, at the core, this hydrogen is so compressed that it fuses into helium. At this point, a chemical reaction happens. Huge amounts of energy explode. With this energy, something miraculous happens. Photons are created. Yes, photons. Think about this. The Greeks were way ahead of us. Too bad the Dark Ages came along and then we kind of forgot about things. But these photons, right there in the center of the sun, but I want you to really think about this for a second. They don't just get spit out. For almost 1 million years, these photons struggle through that cosmic soup. Slowly, slowly. What is a photon? It's not a particle? Oh, wait a minute, it is. It's a waveform. Yeah, it could be that too. It's an electromagnetic quanta, little piece of energy. And then after about 1 million years, it reaches the surface of the sun. And on a bright sunny day, yes, pun intended, poof, It hits vacuum of space, travels at the speed of light. It comes hurtling, because on this hypothetical day, Mercury's on the other side, but look, there's a little planet through the clouds of Venus. Some of them get scattered. Oh, we're going to keep going. Oh, and 8.5 minutes later, they land on us. Think about that for a second. 1 million years it took for that moment. And it should take a heck of a lot less than 1 million years for my laptop to come back. But do not worry. There's always contingency plans. So on that hypothetical day, there's a bald guy with a camera standing at State Pier. And on that State Pier, he's looking at something interesting, right? And he sees something. And those photons rush through the atmosphere. But it's so dense because the sun is going down. There's all kinds of pollution, there's all kinds of clouds. They grab that red spectrum of light. And they fly, and some of them hit the whale on top of the cupola. And the guy is standing there. And then they rush through his lens. Boom, set of mirrors through a prism into his eyeball. Through his eyeball, at the back, there's a whole series of sensors, millions and millions of sensors. And then that information gets translated into an electromagnetic pulse that goes into the back of his brain, in the neurons, through the dendrites, and guess what? His brain recognizes that there's the cupola. Oh my God, that's the Whaling Museum. Gee, I should adjust it to the left or to the right because there's a little bird on the left side of the picture. And that's going to be the punctuation that gives the picture the finality. And then for that split second, 250th of a second, with his right finger, he hits the button. The mirror pops up, the aperture closes, boom, the picture is done. 1 million years in the making. You know, guys, I can't, it's hard for me to explain to you guys what photojournalism is. If you notice, on every piece of literature, I speak and I call myself a photojournalist. Why? There's so much different types of photography. Why do I continuously refer to myself as a Why? Because we have rules. Photojournalism has rules. What does that mean? What that means is pretty simple. We have ethics that we abide by. I don't pose photographs. I don't coach photographs. I don't tell people what to do in my photographs. I don't move things in my photograph to create matter. The only thing I have control of is my legs, my brain, and my little finger. But therein lies the beauty of photography, of photojournalism specifically. Why? Because I can put you in a place that you might have never been before. I can put you on the tarmac at T.F. Green Airport, and I can show you or try to capture you for that split moment and try to make you understand why I was there to begin with. I didn't want these guys being killed in foreign wars to become statistics. I wanted to put in perspective the idea that these people have families. And I know this is hard to look at. Why? Because I'm the one that was there. And many times when I take photographs like this, the camera is in my face so that nobody sees the tears. Guys, it's hard, man. It's painful, man. But you know what's incredible? Is that they understood the power that I had as a photographer. They're the ones that invited me to be there. I was the only one there. And that's the first moment that that woman saw her husband return. And these are difficult moments, but therein lies the power of photojournalism. I can put you in a place you've never been before. I can take you to a foreign land. You see, like this photograph, this was in Fairhaven. And that is the moment that the mom sees the son who's fighting a fire at their own business for the very first time. But you know something? Look closely at that photograph. That photograph is not about destruction. That photograph is of love. That photograph is him telling mom, it's going to be all right. Sometimes I can't describe what's going through my head. I was there for a long time, and I have no idea why I didn't leave. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there. And then I hear a woman screaming, and she's running. And the only thing I could think of is, I have no idea who this is, but she has to be impacted by what it is that's happening here. And I photographed it, and this photograph ran all over the world. Is Fairhaven important? Yes, it's important. It's important everywhere. Sometimes we like to think that the grass is always greener on the other side. Come on, man. Give me a break. The grass is not always greener on the other side. It's not. This is Honduras. I'm walking around. And sometimes I wonder to myself, how do I just walk around and walk into people's homes without being invited? With cameras in hand, and then I'm going to show it to possibly millions of people. I walked into her home. She lived by herself. It was a complete disaster. It's hard for me to really describe what it is that I saw. But you know something? Therein lies why I chose to switch careers. Yes, I was happy. Yes, I had my own computer company. Yes, I was doing rather well. But you know something? It was all about me. Me, 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 me. And every day I woke up, and I'm like, you know, one of these days I'm going to figure out that I am simply a grain of sand in a ginormous cosmic beach. And until I give that up, and I start realizing that everyone else is just as important as me, maybe I'll achieve my dream. And now I'm going to show you something that nobody's ever seen before, unless you go way back. I'm going to show you the very first photograph I ever got published. Holy smokes, this is going to be ugly. But let me tell you something. I'm a stubborn guy. Just ask Mr. Unger over there. But once upon a time, I actually found this photograph, but it's a thumbnail. I couldn't find the original. Okay, let me give you a quick recap of how I got into this business, really quick. Changed careers. Nobody wanted to hire me. Why would me? My portfolio was terrible. But I'm not going to give up just like that. I had closed the company. There was no going back. So I kept on trying to do things. Newport News, Brockton Enterprise, Standard Times, Boston Globe. Who are you? Leave us alone. And then one day, I'm like, you know, I'm just going to get up. I'm going to go see what's out there. I'm going to photograph something. And I saw a tall ship coming in. This tall ship, as a matter of fact. So while it's not a great picture, it puts things in perspective. So this tall ship runs into town. I head over there. I walk on board. The youngsters were up there furling the sails. And I'm like, hi, how are you? My name is Peter Pereira. I'm with the Standard Times. Can I come on board? I want to really photograph. Oh, have you ever climbed the mast before? Oh, yeah, I'm like way cool at climbing stuff. So I put the harness on backwards to kind of help me afterwards. No joke, I'm dead serious. So I climb up and I take this photograph, and that ran in the paper. Now, you're going to have to okay, that was the very first photograph I ever published, ever. So I bring the roll of film, I gave it to the editor, and I told them the following. I said, listen, Jack, you're never going to give me a chance, so I took it upon myself to do something. The tall ship came into town. If you like the photos, use them. If not, chuck them. I knew I had good stuff because I knew he was never going to climb a mast. They ran the photograph, but here's where the story goes. Some of you might have heard this. Okay, I didn't know this. But you remember my little ship? That little ship? Okay. This I actually photographed a couple of years later when I was already stringing for a whole bunch of people. I call my mom. She's in Portugal on vacation. I'm like, yeah, I'm at State Pier. I see a tall ship coming in, and I'm going to photograph it. And I've actually photographed it before, and it's called the Gazella, and there's silence on the other side of the phone. I'm like, hello, Skype is not working. She goes, what's the name of the ship again? And I'm like, the Gazella. I hear an emotional tone on the other side. I hear some gibberish between my mom and my dad. Are you sure it's called the Gazella? And it's got these 3 masts? And I'm like, yeah. Then what they told me was absolutely mind-bending. It turns out that the very first photograph I ever had published, the gateway to my entire career, was of a ship that rescued both my grandfathers when their ship sank in the North Atlantic. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, think about that. You want to talk about the circle of life? Here I am on State Pier in New Bedford. The very first photograph that I ever got published is of a ship that saved my life, not once, but twice. Turns out my grandparents, my grandfathers, were best friends from our little town in Portugal. Before their daughter-son got married, before my mom was born, their ship, Maria Preciosa, sank when it hit an iceberg. And guess who rescued them? The Gazella. I mean, think about that for a second. Think about it. The photograph that I took had an impact on me, the photographer, like I never thought was possible. I walked on board. I told the captain that. The captain's head blew up, goes through the journals, and there it was. So guys, that's pretty cool. You know, I mean, if you guys have gone to the Standard Times, you've seen a lot of my international work. And one of the things about the Standard Times that I can honestly say that nobody else that I know, no other photographer has the latitude that I'm given. None. As a matter of fact, I had lunch today at the Moby Dick Brewery with a photographer from the Worcester Gazette and her girlfriend. And you know something? They're like, Pete, man, you rock. But they're not actually saying my photos rock. They're saying that the latitude that you're given is unprecedented. Guys, besides being a daily news photographer, I'm also represented worldwide by an agency. What does that mean? That means I can go to India for Harvard Magazine, for instance. That means I can go to Haiti and my stuff shows up in Newsweek. That means I can do whatever I want. But there's a common mutual respect. Mr. Unger knows if I'm going to go off to Rinky-Dinkyville, he knows I'm going to give him something. There's a relationship there. But the respect that I'm given is something that nobody in the business has. Nobody. So you might wonder, how did I end up in the New York Times? On the front page quite a few times now. How did I end up in Vogue magazine? Which, by the way, I ended up in Vogue magazine, you ready for this? With a Portuguese man of war photo. You can't even make this stuff up. But last week, I shot for the New York Post. The week before that, I shot for a special Netflix documentary that's coming out pretty soon. Guys, I don't stop. Because we live in a city like New Bedford does not mean you can't accomplish your goals. We live in a global community, guys. An email is as simple as, you know, John Smith at nationalgeographic.com. He's going to get it. I've met with National Geographic. I sat down in Washington, D.C. Why? Because I sent them an email. Hey, check out my stuff. Hey, that's pretty good. I did a piece on 3 Mile Island. Guys, I'm here to inspire you. And I know some of you guys are saying, yeah, well, I'm kind of old to be trying new things. Guys, don't even give me that. Don't. You want to write a book? Write a book. Like, for instance, the authors that I photographed last week for the New York Post, they wrote a book about their survival story. They're not young chickens, guys. Now it's a bestseller. Do it. You can do it. I mean, I know that I'm like talking like all doom and stuff. But you know, I had to put in a little bit of comic relief in this, guys. Come on. You guys got to cut me a little bit of slack. You know, I bought like this to help me out because it's called Smart Water. And I was really hoping that if I drank enough of this stuff, I'd be inspired. So, if you guys go on my website, you're going to see a plethora of stuff. Like for instance, let me give you my favorite photographs that I shot in 2016. Now what you're going to see here is a diversity of material. A photojournalist does not count on a single photograph to carry his entire career. Well, at least they shouldn't. But every single day matters. Every single day, I try to bring you something that you've never seen before. I try to bring you a community that you think you know, but you really don't, because I don't. And I've been to every nook and cranny in this place. Look, Grace Church. Now, we know there's somebody here. There he is. But you know something? Think about that. Don't think for a single second that I take for granted the power that I have, but the responsibility that I have. If I come back and I say, oh yeah, I decided to, I told that girl to go jump over there. If I did that, every single photograph I have ever taken is going to come into question. And by the way, I calculated how many photographs I've taken since I became a staffer. Are you ready for this? You better be sitting. Oh yeah, you guys are sitting, I'm sorry. 1.3 million photos. Mr. French still building that wall today. Whaling Museum. Hey, we know where that place is. But if you notice, I always try to push the envelope. I try to make you look at that newspaper, that recycled good, for just a little bit longer. Look, free trees, dude. I love free trees. I wonder if somebody went down there and cut that thing off. Which, by the way, I should note that the woman whose tree that is actually called me. She's like, I love that picture. Can you make me a copy, an 8x10 of that? I'm like, listen, I'll send you the digital file and you can print it for free. How's that? But every single day matters. Every day. I mean, just look. This is the community, hopefully in a way that you haven't seen it before. And if you look, I'm going to every nook and cranny. I'm not just counting on something to carry me. Like for instance, you see this, or this, or this. But how do I end up in situations like this? Or like that? What is that, you might ask? That's the fair. Downtown. At Buttonwood Park Zoo. See? Interesting way. Slow shutter speed. But how do you do that? You think and you live and you breathe photography. You go there and the camera and you are one piece. I don't think about, my setting needs to be 250th of a second at f5.6, and maybe I'll get a moment is gone. Photojournalism is what is happening, not what could happen. So people ask me, what does computer engineering have to do with photography? It has everything, absolutely everything. I went to UMass Dartmouth. I graduated in '92 with a computer engineering degree, like I said. Oh, you guys like that other one, right? Man, this thing is going like out of control. Yeah, like even simple photos like this. How does this happen? I drive a lot. But I'm also driving and I'm absorbing what it is that's happening. When I'm in my car and it's freezing out and I drive by a street called Spring Street and it's middle of spring and it's still frozen, man, that's just painful. But here's the key. I could have just taken that photo. I could have gotten back into my warm car. What if I told you I spent over 45 minutes taking that photo? Why? Because it's not good enough. The vantage point wasn't good enough. You see the lights of the bus? Right? You see the lights of the car? You see how they're intersected in the middle? I stood on a stone wall. And if you find Spring Street, I'm sure you can find the wall. And I sat there. One car wasn't good enough. 2 cars weren't. And then this bus comes like the apparition. I'm like, took the photograph. It translates into something that tells a story. It's so easy to just take photos, guys. But every single photograph matters. Every single thing. Like, for instance, you have an idea, right? You find out there's a ballet school in New Bedford. And you're like, there's a ballet school? What do you mean there's a ballet school? Oh yeah, I get it. It's going to be like one of these schools that teaches jazz and rap. No, it's a true classical ballet. What do you think I want to do? I'm like, dude, I am so all over this. Made a couple of emails, got the go, but it took me almost a year to get there. Almost a year because I was just so much other stuff. But then on 3 occasions I went there, and I simply captured it. And then the beauty is I can go to my newspaper and say, hey guys, I want to run this in black and white. And they didn't go, you're nuts, we don't do black and white. People are going to think I'm a mistake. No. They're like, okay. But then I'm like, oh yeah, and by the way, I don't want that dumb skybox across the top. Really? Yeah, but that, guys, okay. Oh, and by the way, the Standard Times in blue, I want that in black and white too. Now you're asking for much. But you know something? They did. And when you take photographs like this, and at first, the people, the parents of they just want to see their kids. So at first, they might not appreciate the context of the photograph. Or the teacher might be thinking, oh my God, that photograph, they're not executing that move perfectly. But therein lies the beauty of the piece. That they're working on it. Nothing is ever complete. Nothing. How am I doing on time, Christina? Good? Okay. Okay. But do you guys have any questions while I mumble along here? Yes?
One photograph you have taken at St. Andrew, Padua, at the organ. Where were you positioned when you took that?
Oh, my word. Now, we have the organist here. Mr. Sargent, where are you? There he is. Okay. I'm going to tell you about this. As a matter of fact, I might just have the photograph here. Maybe not. No, but it's very large in the gallery. So, what happens? Simple. Guys, photojournalism is an adaptation. You don't know what you're doing. It's the truth. Like right now, today, I have 0 prepared for this. I'm speaking from my heart. If that's not good enough, then I'm sorry. But that's the way I take every photograph. I went to St. Anthony's. Outside is a guy in a lift. I go to the guy in the lift. Hey, how are you? Susan, except there was a guy. And I say, what are you doing with the lift? Oh, we're going to repair this ceiling thing on the inside. I'm like, hey, can I go check it out? I walk into the church. There's a mass. I'm like, So I have a choice. I can focus on why it is that I went there, aka because I saw a guy with a lift who's going to go inside, who's going to fix it. Or I can just, who cares? I'm going to photograph a mass, which was a funeral mass. And then, as I'm walking, trying to be as respectful as possible, I hear something. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be good. I find the stairs, I go upstairs. There's Mr. Sargent, who, by the way, looks a heck of a lot like Santa Claus. So Mr. Sargent is there, and he's getting ready. I walk around the organ. Behind the organ, there's like a little step thing with a mirror so that he can see when the procession or whatever is happening down below, because he's not facing the folks. He's facing this ginormous organ with these pipes all over the place. So I walk up on top of this. He must have been like, this guy's going to hurt himself. But I'm sitting there. And after I introduced myself, he's just doing his thing and I'm doing my thing. I take the photo. Things are running in the background. If you look really closely, you can see the things running because it's never good enough just taking the original picture. I want to tell a complete story, a complete sentence. Now, if you ask Mr. Unger and a reporter says, oh, here's a sentence, and there's no punctuation, there's no capitalization, it's not a complete sentence, is it? Every photograph should be a complete sentence. So that's what happened. But then you know what happened that was even more incredible? I went back. I went back on another time, and I found his daughter singing. And that was mind-melting. It really was. She was doing Ave Maria, right? In French. Man, think about that. How lucky am I? There are no doors for me. There are no windows. I walk anywhere I want. Santi Pereira says, thanks. That's my son. What else did he say? Now I'm worried. Huh? Oh, okay. Okay, I messed it up. But you know, listen, when I go to a place, I see things. And yes, she's rotating in midair. I'm driving in Wareham, and I see this fish. And this thing is ginormous. And I'm like, I was across the street on Route 6, and I sat there, and I sat there. And this goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. What does engineering have to do with photography? Everything. What is an engineer? An engineer is simply the ability to solve a problem. That's all an engineer is. Maybe you can anticipate the problem before it happens, so you can resolve it before it breaks. This is an engineering problem. Yes, I saw something, but it hadn't happened yet. All I needed was patience, and I got plenty of that. So I sat there with the camera, across the street. I know how much depth of field I required, so if somebody walks behind the fish, everything needs to be in focus. The trick is to have this published the next day. And it ran on the front page, and it won a whole bunch of awards. Yes, I'm passionate about what I do. Every single day matters. Every single day. And when you stop at Tia Maria's for this, you can't go wrong. It's funny because if you've never been on my website, it's peterpereira.com, and you're going to see a lot of things. You're going to see, for instance, I did a piece, I went to India, like I said, and a lot of people might say, well, did you get any photos of the Taj Mahal? Yeah, kind of. What do you mean you can't? Did you go or not? Yes, I went. I hugged the Taj Mahal, like I went like that, and it felt really good. But you know something? There are times you put the cameras down because you want to live it. So next time you guys go somewhere and you spend your whole time going like this, I can guarantee you one thing. Go online, there's better photos. Take this after you take your family photos, stick it in here, and live it. Breathe it. I went to Egypt, right? And I had a magnificent idea. I'm like, I'm going to leave the cameras in the hotel room. Maybe they'll get stolen, maybe they won't. Who cares? I'm going to go to the pyramids. Why? Why? I got a great idea. I want to see the sun setting behind the pyramids of Giza. Okay, let's do it. Get in a taxi, get out. Hey, okay, go that way. The pyramids are that way. Oh, yeah, I could see them. Yeah, okay, that's the entry. Boom, pay the fee, go inside. It's an open desert. Do what you want. I walk into the desert. On the Giza Plateau, the pyramids are here. There's a whole bunch of tombs here. And then there's a little bit of a wall you got to crest, and then the Sahara just expands until infinite. And I walk into the Sahara because the sun was on the opposite side where Cairo is. And I sat in that glorious moment, and the sun goes down. And then it sank behind the pyramids, and I was in pitch black, and I had no idea how to get back. It's funny, guys. we're all photographers. We are all photographers. I know what some of you guys are saying, yeah, but I'm not that good at this. No. You all have the ability in your pocket of capturing a moment in time for all time. For all time. Think about that for a second. When you guys are like old and gray and dead, your family will know who you were when you were 10, when you were 20, when you were 30, when you were 50. Don't forget that, guys. Don't forget that. That's one of the reasons I'm driven to go to places like this. Every single day, we're like complaining about where it is that we live, right? We're like, oh, yeah, New Bedford is so bad. My area is so bad. I want to move. I want to go here. I want to go there. And then you realize, hold on a second. The world is different. It's different. I am so lucky. I hope you guys feel the energy and the passion that I have for what it is that I do. I want you guys to understand something. When you look at that newspaper, you might not like the photo. You might not like the story. But I can tell you one thing. I can almost guarantee it. Somebody invested a lot of their time to bring it to you. Not just me. I happen to be lucky in that I've been recognized for what it is that I do. I happen to be lucky to go to a place like Haiti, come back, an earthquake happens, nobody cares about my photos anymore. And I had a choice. I've invested the money up front. So now what? Now I'm out of a lot of money. But nobody wants my photos because the earthquake just leveled the place and they want photos of destruction. As they should. So what happens? I get a call from the American Red Cross. Hey, we understand. Would you like to donate a photo for a magazine that we're putting out to generate funds for the Haitian people? I'm like, I'll tell you what. You can have them all. Free of charge. Everything. There you go. Yeah. You know what happened? It turns out they asked very prominent photographers from around the world who had been to Haiti for one photo. Because they only gave them one photo, guess who had everything in the magazine? Me. But you know something? I truly believe that if you do something from the bottom of your heart, that you do it because, why did I go to Haiti? It wasn't to make any money, guys. It was because nobody cared about the place. So when that stuff came out, you know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. So what happened was, after the magazine ran, I'm at a Best Buy. I'm at a Best Buy, and I get a call. I look, it's a New York number. Hello. I am whatever editor of the New York Times Lens blog. We saw your material on Haiti. We love the photograph on the blackboard. If those of you who have been, actually, it's right here. We love the photograph on Haiti on the blackboard. We want to feature it, but we need the photo now. And that's where my computer engineering came into play. I grabbed my phone, jumped on a remote network, accessed my home server, sent them the photo, and I was still at Best Buy looking at whatever it is. But you know something? I truly believe that if you just give it all, 100%, every time, wonderful things will happen. This photograph ran in the New York Times. This photograph ran in the most prestigious photojournalism blog in the world, the New York Times Lens blog. And then you know what happened? After this ran, I ended up with an endorsement deal that's still happening today with AC/DC Photo, software that I use every day. Right? After they ran a full-page ad in every photo magazine in the world with my face on it. Be like Peter Pereira. Tell the stories with your camera. Guys, I'm just a little dude from New Bedford. After that ran, I ended up with an endorsement deal that I still have with Think Tank photo bags. Guys, there's no excuse that your language was not English to begin with. There's no excuse that you came to this country from a different place and you didn't even know how to speak the language. There's no excuse that you're man, woman, black, white, whatever you want. If you believe that this is what you need to do, that's what's going to happen. And man, there's a lot of people in here. Holy smokes. Guys, I know I keep on saying the same thing. But the passion that I have for this is beyond words. I wake up in the morning, I have no idea what I'm going to do. None. Like today, I'll give you what I did today. Give you what I did today, right? I got up, I went to Farm and Coast for breakfast because they have the best French toast ever created by mortals. I'm there. I'm eating the French toast. I hear, I'm like, what? I see the bridge operator is opening the bridge. I rush over there, take some photos. Next thing I know, 40 minutes later, I'm still talking to the guy. Right? And then I look over and there's a kayaker coming up. I scoot over, take a photograph straight down. She's coming through. You can see Padenham Harbor in the back. Right? Then I'm like, what on earth am I going to say tonight? I know how to resolve that. I'll jump on my bike, go for a 20-mile training ride. Because I raced last night. I took 5th place. I'm pumped. Yeah. But actually, and I know I'm kind of stretching things here. But you know, I got an idea. I got a real good idea. I have a YouTube channel, by the way. Susan has a YouTube channel right there. You want to see what I do? I'm going to compress 8 hours for you, time-lapse style. Okay. If it works. So, there you go. So this is a few years ago. This is going to run really fast, because 8 hours and 10 minutes is mind-melting. But basically, I have a time-lapse camera, and I just stuck it in my car. And everywhere I went. So I'm having breakfast at Simbi's, which, by the way, now is the Nook in Fairhaven, which is brilliant coffee. Check that place out. But you're going to see, like, there was no assignments that day. But I found out there was been heavy rains and the possible flooding in Freetown, Lakeville. What am I going to do? Am I going to call an editor and say, hey, you think I should go to Freetown? Because it could be. No, I'm going to go there. I'm going to discover it myself. And then I'm going to photograph. So on a typical day, I have no idea where I'm going, unless I'm given assignments, which happens. It happens, which I love assignments. It's a challenge. See, now I'm going to Lakeville. Man, I'm looking pretty cool in that car, man. That's pretty good. But I think the challenge to come to grips with, as far as photojournalism is, it's so dynamic. If you're used to doing something, sitting down in a cubicle, no offense to those who do that, it's hard to come to grips with the freedom that you have. Now, think about that for a second. There are those who use that freedom and do as little as possible within the context, and there are those who use that freedom and do as much as possible. Because you know something? I'm always judged with the photograph I'm taking tomorrow. Nobody cares about the stuff I did yesterday. Nobody cares about the 8 times I was New England Photographer of the Year. Nobody cares that I was knighted by the government of Portugal. Nobody cares. I'm only as good as the picture you see tomorrow. Without Christina, without the show, you guys would never have seen those photographs unless you read the paper that day and you had like photographic memory. But think about that for a second. This profession is built on being evaluated every single day. The first time I got lead art in the New York Times, I had a choice. Blizzard comes down. Blizzard. Think about that. Blizzard is affecting the entire east coast of the United States. I have a choice. I can stay in my comfortable home, or I can head out. Because I want to be the best, period. I go out. I take the photograph of what? Imagine this. Total luck. I step out of my house, I could go right, I could go left, I can't see anything in either direction. I decide to go right for some bizarre reason. I go right. I could go right, I could go left. Can't see anything, I go right. Right there, I see a shadowy figure moving through the snow, struggling. And I can tell it's not some bum doing dumb things. I can tell this person is on a mission. I go through with my camera, they're soaked. I hope it works. I photograph her, 1, 2, the snow is up to here, no joke. And she's going like this. And she's got a box. And she's going like this. I'm photographing it. Da, da, da. I go up to her. We can barely hear each other. I'm like, what's your name? No joke. She tells me, I'm like, what on earth are you doing out here? Her response is, what are you doing out here? Guess what? She was an anesthesiology assistant at St. Luke's Hospital. She'd been stuck in the hospital, and she had to walk home. That photograph went on the AP wire. The next day, all my colleagues who decided to stay home, and those that went out, as the term says, sucks to be them. But that is how serious I take everything. Every single thing. And Mr. Unger was the editor at the time. And you know something? Nothing feels as good. Nothing. When you go out and they know you don't have to. They know that you could have just stayed home because it was a Saturday and you don't work on weekends. And then you give it to them. And the smile on his face. I don't need anything else. I want our readers to understand that yes, I have chosen to be, oh my God, I'm still eating? Jeez. I am a journalist who has chosen the community newspaper format, but I never think of myself in those terms. I think of myself as, who are you? You National Geographic, you Time? Bring it on. Bring it on. Guys, I never think of an assignment as too big for me, but I also never think of an assignment as too small for me, ever. 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 I'll tell you, it is painful when I'm asked to go take pictures of potholes. But I also will tell you that if I don't come back with the best pothole picture ever, I'm the first to be disappointed. As a matter of fact, on a side note, that's happened twice. The first time, they're like, hey, we got a lot of potholes in the city. I'm like, yeah? Can you go get pictures of potholes? I'm like, ugh. Sure. I drive around looking for the biggest potholes I can find. And then I found the mother lode. This huge pothole right in front of the entrance to the Buttonwood Park Zoo, covered in water. Think about this. This could get ugly. I had a choice. I could have photographed it from a long distance and wait for a car to go over the puddle, because I could see. Or I can get right in front of that beautiful puddle with my wide-angle lens and hope that I don't get completely soaked, just a little. And that's what I did. A car came through, splashed it. I got it just as the the water drops were flying towards the camera. Next day it was lead art. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, nobody cares about this, but I still like it. Second time they asked me for a pothole photo. I'm like, come on. I'm like, yeah, we hear there's a lot of potholes on the highway. Man, you know this is going to be ugly. This is going to end up bad. I go on the highway, Route 140, heading south with the off-ramp to get to 195. There was a huge crater there. The moon's got nothing on this thing, right? And you know how dangerous that intersection is. You kind of have to scoot over that thing. Yep, I stood over there. I got a huge truck just plowing through that. I look behind me, there's a cop with lights. I go, hi. The guy comes out of the car. He goes, Pete, what are you doing? I'm like, big pothole needs to get fixed. The guy's like, all right, man, it's all good. Turns out I knew him. But the relationships, and I'm just going to leave you guys with this, because I know you guys have been saturated with this. But if you notice, everybody's my friend. When was the last time you guys walked down the street and just said good morning to the random person, the next person that walks up? I do it all the time. Man, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Because they're not expecting you to say anything. If you have an open heart and you belong there, there are no doors. When I walk into people's homes at random in India somewhere, and I photograph them changing diapers on a baby, on a bare floor with a garbage dump outside, it's with a heavy heart I do this. It is. When I photograph kids collecting water bottles from trains in India, then taking the meager money they make and sniffing it up in glue, it's painful, man. Harvard Magazine sends me to India, and they thought I was going to come back with pretty pictures of their Ivy League students doing amazing work. Sure, they got those. That's not what they use, though. Because I challenged them to look at reality. I don't care how much you pay me. I'm going to bring you back way more than you expect. So you know what happened? Instead of the, hey, no offense, I'm sure some Harvard graduates here. It's all good. You can't change the world. But the world needs to, stories need to be told. So instead of the front page, on a single issue, that's what they were going to give me. They ended up giving me 2 issues. They gave me a huge award for great photojournalism. And on the front, the cover, was a homeless kid that I photographed in Jaipur. A story they were never going to do. If I didn't challenge myself, if I was just happy collecting the check and being sick from the smog, which I was, my life could have been a lot easier. But you know something? Because of that, and because of other things, these kids have a place to stay. Can I change the world? I don't know. Maybe. You tell me. Can you change the world? You better believe you can. And I know there's some youngsters here. And I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Dreams are seeds, you see? Like little seeds just floating in your hand. You can look at them all day long. Or you can grab them, plant them on the ground. You don't know what's going to come out. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. I am completely overwhelmed with the audience here today. I have been fortunate to have pointed my camera at some of you guys in the audience. And to have you guys come back and point your eyes at me. I've never done anything for recognition. Never. I've never done anything so that you can tell me how great I am. No. I don't care if you read my byline. I've only done it because once upon a time, I decided I wanted to change the world. I could have looked at those seeds all day long. I could have. I could have kept on wondering until I was 60 years old if I was ever going to plant those damn things. But then one day, I held them really tight in my hand. And when everybody told me I was crazy, that those things are never going to amount to anything, I didn't listen. You see? Because I know I can get it done. You guys know you can get it done. Mr. Sargent, the organ player, when he goes there, I know he's given 100%. You can feel it through your bones. So tomorrow, when you guys pick up the paper, I have no idea what they're going to run. It's probably not even my photo. I'm just playing. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys, and the only way I can do that is to try to take a better photo the next day. By the way, you're going to have to wait because I'm leaving for North Carolina tomorrow morning. So, you know, I haven't taken a week vacation since last year. And it's not because I need vacations. I don't need vacations. As long as I got eyeballs, I'm never on vacation. Guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart.